All right, cool. So I'm gonna do recognition first because I always do it, but I want to do the Success Club points for February because last week we had that call with other teams on Beachbody besides Team Boom, so we didn't get to do recognition for the month of February. So I'm just gonna read off the people that made Success Club last month. So with 5 points last month was, let me just make sure this is the right one. Yeah, okay. So we had Teresa Versetto, Skylar Coden, Mindy Harris, Sarah Marshall, Michelle Stokes, Anne Murphy, Alyssa Meyer, Jennifer Jackson with 6, Ashley Coyne, Shauna Valenta, Terry Bachlet, Beth Reelman, Whitney Negrania, Jenny Powell, Erica Kinsella, Vanessa Ramirez, Victoria Dell, Heather Magoon, Cassandra Martin, Monica Monteparte, Josh Morgan, who's Amy Morgan, Stephanie Miller, Nikki Hill, Robin Ferguson, Jim Carpenetti with 6. And then with 7 was Chelsea Cata, Julian Prisco, Sean Weeks, who's Mary Weeks, Katie Silveria, Caitlin Kappa with 8, Kathy Korbecki, Elizabeth Grimes, Amanda Stein, Megan Smiley, Brittany Hall, Tammy Haiti, Tangela Lynn, Christy Thomason, Kelly Pond, Jennifer Pike, Ashley Groves, Jakin Huskinsveld, Robert Rodriguez, Jeff Leese, Mary Beth Meebs, Darling with 9. So these are people with 9. Kristen Coyne, Sydney Freeman with 10. Kristen Coyne had 10 actually. Ariel Hartstock with 10. Laura Farmer with 10. Cami DeCistio with 10. Lisa Centrone with 10. Tara Hansen with 10. Jennifer Conroy with 10. Dara Masson with 10. Kayla Emery with 10. Andrea Wallace with 10. Maria Vella with 10. T. Striley, these are people with 11. T. Striley, Nicole Ramirez, Lori Sanderson, Francesca Calhoun with 12, Danielle Young with 12, Dave Yackel with 12, Alyssa Sardelli with 12, Kimberly Opperley with 12, Barb Fravert with 12, Ginger Halliday with 12, Tanya Rutherford with 12, Catherine Crowder, Trip Knowles, Amy Morgan, Elena Diglio, Joe Policino, Tanya Boycourt with 14, Candace Bruin with 14, Kelly Marks with 14, Pete Reelman with 15, Susanna Bell with 16. I think she goes by Susie because I hear Amy talk about her all the time. Kirsten Barnett with 16. Susie had 16. Chelsea Delph with 16. Brittany Babbitt with 16. Sarah Carricker with 16. Bree Sanders with 18. Bridget Moore with 18. Brittany Barsky with 20. Melissa Virgil with 22. Caroline Nathan with 22. Tim Griffin with 24. Reve Chantel with 24. Michelle Phillip with 30. And Amy Reelman with 34. So that's all of February. So let me just do a quick one for March, like what we got so far. I can sort this thing. Okay, so people that have hit Success Club already, we got Tammy Haiti with 5, Barb Fervet with 5, Rhonda Shute with 6, Rachel Masters 6, Bridget Moore 6, Amy Reelman 6, Carrie Martabano with 7, Elena Diglio with 7, Kirsten Barnett with 7, Terry Bachlet with 8, Lori Sanderson with 8, Francesca Calhoun with 8, and Amy Morgan with 14. So I know that there's some people that I left off. So I think like Shauna might know some, Andrea, Amy, or who made Success Club last month that I didn't say?
I just texted you some, Pat.
Can you just
Melissa Klein had 10.
I had Sarah Glasser with 5, Carrie Schmidt with 14, and myself was 15.
I had Beth Baker with 5, Ashley Felddyson with 6, Caitlin Brownell with 12, and Jamie Slaughterback with 14.
Nice. Boom. Anyone else?
I have some that I can say that I don't think you mentioned. Nikki Ramirez with 11, Ariel Harstock with 10, and Kathy Korbecki had 8, Chelsea Cata had 8, and I think that's it.
Awesome. Anyone else? Did anyone else make it that I didn't say?
Oh, and Jen Jackson had 5 as well. Sorry.
Anyone else I missed? Cool. So then for personal volume, just this past week, we had in the 395. This is the top 20. We had T. Striley with 395, Rachel Clark with 395. Oh, I left myself out for Success Club. I had 11. Not bad. In the 400 club, we had Eric Conroy, Sarah Marshall, Carol Witt, Gisela Santalon, Jakin Huskinsveld, myself, Cindy Gully, Shelly Frank, Alyssa Sardelli, Kirsten Barnett. In the 500 club, we had Amy Morgan, Tara Hansen, Brittany Babbitt, Michelle Stokes, Reve Chantel, Kelly Marks. In the 600 club, we had Amy Reelman. And with 745 was Marie Carl, killing it. And then as far as new coaches, this week we had – this. Okay, so far this week, the last 7 days, Elena Diglio has sponsored or enrolled 2 new coaches. Amy Morgan 1, Amy Reelman 2, Andrea Wallace, Anne Marie, Brittany Barsky, Caitlin Brunel, Casey Beard, Chelsea Cata, and then Chelsea Balzalo with 2, Nikki Hill with 2, Francesca Calhoun with 2, Gage Ecker, who's Amy Reelman with 1, Jamie Slaughterback with 3, Jenny Avina with 1. I'm staying at Jenny's place right now. Jennifer Conroy, Jennifer Costello, Joe Policino, Kirsten Barnett, Lori Sanderson, Mindy Clark, Monica Underwood, 2 for Rachel Masters, Sarah Carricker with 1, Sarah Olinsky with 1, Shauna Valenta with 1, Tammy Haiti with 1, Taylor Ludick with 1, Terry Bachlett with 1, Tim Griffin with 1, and Whitney Burdine with 1. Awesome. Okay. Lots of recognition. So today, there was like 10 of us, I think, that were at the John Maxwell event this past weekend. And so I'm sure you guys like saw some photos and posts we've been talking about. And I'm sure you guys know that there's a year of calls with John Maxwell as like our personal mentor for our team. And he only does this with like 5 or 6 businesses at a time. So the fact that he's doing this with Tracy Morrow's downline, who we happen to be in her downline, is pretty remarkable because he does this with like Fortune 500 companies. And he decided to do it with Tracy because he just loves her. So we are very, very lucky that he's doing this. With that being said, like, there's a lot of successful coaches on Team Boom that have been successful without having John Maxwell as their mentor. So like, if you guys think that if you can't afford the calls for some reason and you're like, oh man, like I'm going to get left behind, like maybe this isn't for me. Like, don't feel like you have to be on these calls. Like, it's not a requirement. You can be successful without this stuff. We all have been successful without it. But for coaches that want to kind of take it to another level this year and really develop as leaders, even if you don't have any coaches of your own, it's important that you develop as a leader, even if you have no one to lead just yet. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But for coaches that do want to take it to that next level and they want to grow and they feel like they haven't really come close to tapping into the real potential, then these are the calls you want to be on. Because not only are you going to tap into your potential and get a lot closer to getting all of what you have in you out of you, but you're going to learn how to get more out of others as well and help them reach their full potential. So what I wanted to do is just talk a little bit about like what to expect on the calls. But first, I wanted just to have some of the coaches that were there share a little bit about what maybe their biggest takeaway or maybe 2. And then I have a bunch of notes that I have that I wanted to go over, but I wanted to let you guys go first because I don't want to like take up the whole call with my notes. So of the people that were there, who wants to kind of share first? How about you, Amy? I see you first.
I wasn't ready, but okay. I'm just kidding. So the biggest thing I took away, well, not the biggest thing, there was so many things. So I'll just mention one thing. I like that he talked about 4 things that you really should be doing well to succeed in any business. The first one was relationships. People have to like you and you have to add value to them. People don't buy the products, they buy into you. So people don't care how much you know until they know how much you actually care. The second one was attitude. I really liked how he talked about this one. Attitude doesn't count when things are going well. It's your attitude on a bad day. And your attitude is your choice. It's not dependent on people. It's dependent on how you choose to go about the situation. The third thing was empowering and training people. And the fourth one was leadership. And he went over leadership a lot, obviously, but everything rises and falls on leadership. How well you lead is how well you will succeed. You will grow your business when you grow your leaders. You're not born with greatness. You're born with potential for greatness. Your business will follow your leadership. So I like that point.
Awesome. Cool. Anyone else want to share that was there at the circle? Jakin.
Yeah, I knew you were looking at me. Well, I think my biggest takeaway from Denver was that I'm not yet a great leader, but that's okay because nobody that was there really was. Some are, but it was really interesting to sit in this group of what I considered superstars and hear them talk about some of the same issues that I deal with on a day-to-day basis and that type of stuff. Some key things that I think will help raise my level of leadership that I picked up this weekend was that if you're at the top of your class, you're in the wrong class. You want to be near the worst in the room because then you're going to be learning the most. We don't need more people, we need more leaders. So when you commit to being a leader and training leaders, you're going to lose some people, and that's okay. You're not going to be as big, but you're going to be better. Give your time to those who've earned it. He talks about the Pareto rule. 80% of the 80% of the return is going to come from 20% of your people. So we typically ask people to join the team and hope that we can change them, and that's backwards. We should really approach them about the commitment first. You're going to recruit less, but you're going to recruit better. And then really how he started the whole thing out is you don't want to finish fast. You want to finish together. So if you end up on the top of the mountain and you're thinking it's lonely, then you're not leading, you're just conquering. You want everybody to be up there with you. That's it.
Awesome.
That was great. Yeah, it was kind of relieving a little bit to be in that like circle with like Tracy's top 25 coaches, and like I was nervous to be in there, but it was cool to like Jakin said, they all have like the same doubts and insecurities as all of us, and you don't see that, like everyone's posting about like how successful they are and like all the great stuff and all the recognition. And one of the things John said is that like that doesn't set up expectations. Like you talk about all the recognition, all the great things, and then people see that and then they join your team, and then the first person they talk to about Shakeology says no. And they're like, what? Nobody like told me I was going to have to like deal with the word no, So yeah, like definitely setting expectations and sharing your struggles and sharing your failures. Like people don't want perfect leaders. They want growing leaders. And like when I ask people to be on these John Maxwell calls, it's not like, oh, you need the call. It's like, no, like, trust me, I need these calls just as much as you. And I want you to do this with me together. There's a lot of things that I need to work on. Like I'm not even close to like being at where I would like to be. And I know that these calls are going to help me. And for those any other coaches that want to do that with me, like I'd love to do it with them. But I'm not asking them to do it because I think they need it. I need it more than them probably. Cool. Who else was there that wants to share? I don't want to call on someone that doesn't want to talk, but I'm going to call on, I see Kate DeBarros. Kate, if you guys don't know, is not exactly on Team Boom, but we kind of adopted her because she's pretty cool.
Thanks.
Okay, what were some of your big takeaways?
Okay, so my big takeaway was this. I honestly, I went to this event as like the leader of I have a small team, but I was like, oh, I'm going to go and I'll just pay for everything. And then none of my team will have to worry about paying, and I'm going to share the information. It's going to be great. And we're going to like beat the system. It's going to be awesome. But so I went there, and the more I listened to John talk about investing in yourself and really like that kind of the law of the mirror, looking at yourself in the mirror and knowing your value and thinking about, if you give away information for free, people do not hold value to that, even if it's just these calls. So yeah, I could go on these calls and I could take what I learned and I could give it back to my team. Number one, I'm never going to do it the way John Maxwell does it, because, he's just a man, and it's not going to work that way. And, number two, it's secondhand information. It's free. These people are not going to place value on it. Think about all the things that we get for free, like, oh, here's a free pen for signing up for this, or a free notebook. And if that gets damaged or lost, like, you don't care. You're like, oh, it's free. Who cares? But if it was something that you paid for, like a $1,200 computer or something like that, you wouldn't be as apt to be like, oh, well, who cares? It was just $1,200. There's value and there's money on it. And I know we all like to, it's very taboo to be like, ooh, buy into it. There's money on it. But there is value in information. It's the same thing. If I take it back to my team and, somebody misses something, or they're not going to grasp it, they're going to be like, oh, well, whatever, I don't get it. So, I just think for me, I really found it really encouraging to take this back to my team. And I think it is important for you to be on these calls. And yes, it is a lot of money, but the value that you are going to get and what you're going to get out of it, not only the calls, but the round table discussions that we're going to do after the calls. And I feel like that's really the magic and the bread and butter in what we're doing. Because yeah, you can listen to John Maxwell books, you can watch a John Maxwell lecture, but what's going to happen afterwards is we're going to get these three higher level thinking questions. And we're going to be able to sit down and talk with our team about, how we can apply it to our own business, specifically for Beachbody. And like, that's where the magic happens, because, from good ideas comes great ideas. So if you're not in the calls, you're missing all of that. Like, that's what's important. And, I was telling my team, it's like if your best friend had a party and you didn't have the money to like catch a bus to the party and you missed it. And then the next day, you call her and like, how was your party? And she's like, oh my God, it was so awesome. The party was great. And this guy told this joke and this guy was so drunk. He felt the shirt. She's like having a good time. And like, you're on the other end. And you're just like, oh yeah, that's cool. And you're like totally kicking yourself for not going, and she experienced that. So she's got all this passion and like fire, and it worked for her. And you weren't there. And she could tell you till she's blue in the face about it, but you weren't there. So, for me, it's just, I hate missing a good party. So I'm going to like do whatever I can to sacrifice what I need to get on these calls. So, I mean, that was my biggest takeaway. Really putting a value on information and investing in yourself, because you're worth it. And so is your business. And it's like you said, it's going to be more than just your business. It's in life in general. So that was my biggest takeaway. I got real fired up.
Yeah. I don't want to miss the party either.
Yeah, I know you don't.
Yeah, to kind of like touch on that. So what's going to happen is after the calls, for the people that do sign up for the calls, we're going to have little groups. So after the call, we're going to get together on Zoom calls, and Tracy Morrow is going to give us 3 like hired learning, like Kate said, hired learning questions. So like 3 things that we're all going to get into a group and discuss those 3 questions with each other, that the 3 questions that Tracy gives us, and then a few other things that she's going to give us that we need to discuss with her as well. And we did that, like an example of that this weekend. And it was pretty amazing, like sitting there listening to John with the concepts he had. It was awesome. And then we got into a table and we discussed those things, and it took it to this whole other level. That's really, like Kate said, that's where the magic was. But if you're not on the calls, you can't be in those groups. So yeah, you kind of miss out on the party, but I totally know what you mean. Okay. So who else was there this weekend that wants to share? Am I missing anybody?
Chelsea Cata.
I can share. Can you hear me?
Chelsea.
Okay. So I think a lot of what you guys already said, but one thing that I want to take what Amy said and kind of elaborate on a little bit was that he gave us kind of a roadmap for personal growth and learning. So those 4 things that he talks about: relationships, attitude, the ability to equip and train other people, and leadership are kind of the things you want to focus on for personal growth. And I like that concept that he talks about, which is really intentional living. And I think that concept of intentional living, or intention in everything we do, intention and consistency, are all something that we can apply and gives us a better roadmap for all, growing our business and growing ourselves. So that's one of my takeaways.
Awesome. Love it. Cool. Was there anybody else there? I don't know. I don't see anyone else unless I'm missing it. No? All right. I'll share my couple of my notes here. I see my Aunt Ann is on the call. What's going on, Ann? Okay, so I asked him, my question was, John, obviously all these people that are here that are very successful, they have a genuine love of helping other people. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be successful because people would see through their motives. But they also have another part to their why that is more personal for them, for their family, for their future. How do we get coaches to be okay with the fact that it's not just that they want it, that they love helping people, but there's got to be a part of their why that's going to fuel them to do the things they need to do every day. That personal part of the why that's going to be tied to their future, that financial freedom, maybe, if that's what their goal is or their why. And he said you need to have a healthy balance. You have to have personal, he calls it PPF, personal, professional, and financial goals. So then he says, and then what you do is you sit down with your coaches, your brand new coaches, and talk to them about those 3 things, those 3 aspects of their why. And then once you have those, you help them develop those 3 things, then you repeat their PPF to them over and over again and be constantly reminding them and celebrating the things that are getting them closer to those 3 parts of their why. And I think that once you really do hone in and you have whys in all 3 of those categories, it's going to fuel you 3 times as strong as if your why was just that you want to just help people, because you really can help people without a business. So if you want to do the business, there's got to be another part of that why too. And he was pretty funny about it. He was like, listen, there's always 2 bottom lines: adding value to others, but then there's the financial aspect as well, because that's what affords you choices in your life. And that's what alleviates a lot of stress in your life. So that's something you need to talk about, and that's got to be something that you tie into your why. He also said, another thing he said was, somebody asked him, a high achiever said, I don't have any problem hitting goals on my own, but what I do struggle with is helping my coaches have success and gain traction. And one of the things he said was, I stopped closing deals years ago. I set up the deal and then I bring someone in to close it. I give them the win and it gives them confidence. Give up the wins to others, and that's a bigger win for you. So I know that Jenny Avina and Caroline Nathan do this. They will put their new coach who has a customer, maybe a friend or a family member that's interested in ordering a challenge pack. So the 3 of them, the Caroline Nathan or Jenny Avina, and then their coach and that coach's customer, the 3 of them will get on a group message, and Caroline or Jenny will kind of walk through the steps. And that coach is watching them. But then when the sale happens, that it's their coach that gets the sale and they get the win under the belt, and they got to watch it happen. And that's how they gain confidence. So kind of letting them have the win and kind of guiding them along the way. Another question that someone had was, one of the guys one of the guys was this guy that hit the Millionaire Club in like 18 months, right? He crushed it. But he lost like his motivation because he kind of got, I don't know, he just lost his passion for it. He set these goals and he hit it. So what John said was, are you goal-oriented or are you growth-oriented? Do you have outward goals or inward growth? Fulfillment isn't what you get on the outside. It's what you become on the inside. He said, I'm 68 years old and I'm loaded. He's like, why am I doing this? Why haven't I retired? Because I still have things in me that I've never tapped. Your fulfillment isn't going to come from money. Fulfillment comes from reaching your potential. Outward goals are automatic if you grow inwardly. So growth-oriented goals versus just being goal-oriented. Okay, 3 questions your customers and coaches will always ask of you. Number 1, do you care about me? Number 2, can you help me? Number 3, can I trust you? How you verbally answer those questions will work for 6 months. The longer you lead, what you say will be replaced by your behaviors. They're going to know the answers to those 3 questions based on your actions. That's why you must lead by example. People don't do what they are told. They do what they see. When behavior backs up your words for a long time, you get moral authority, which is the highest level of leadership. For you guys that have read his books on leadership, you'll know what that means. Basically, lead by example. Next thing he said was, we look at others and think they should be farther along. So if you're a coach and you have some coaches of your own and you're struggling with helping them grow and do the things that you know they can do, but you're not really sure how to get them to do those things. He says, we look at others and we think they should be farther along. Growth is not automatic. It's intentional. You will never help your coaches grow when they don't have an intentional plan, when you don't have an intentional plan to help them grow. I will help you do that. I'm a rock star at that. This is what John's saying. You have to be intentional about getting from point A to point B. Giftedness or the fact that you're talented at something got you to this table, got you to maybe whatever rank you're at now. But there is a giftedness ceiling. You need a system. Your giftedness will frustrate your coaches, and your coaches that don't have that giftedness will be frustrated, or they will frustrate you. You need a system. When a gifted person takes an intuitive step, the average person needs it broken down into 10 smaller steps. Think about that. Like, if you're having a lot of success and you do something and you tell your coach, do this, that might have been like intuitive for you, but for them, they're new. They don't understand that. So it needs, that one step that you took needs to be broken down into 10 smaller steps. So you need a system to do that, to help them. When you're gifted, it's easy, but to lead others, you need a system. And that's what he's all about systems. The next thing he said was, the hardest person to lead is yourself. But when you can lead yourself well, you can lead others well. So that's part of what he's going to talk about on these calls, is how to lead yourself first. If that's what you're struggling with, being consistent yourself and leading yourself, then you're going to struggle with leading others. So if that's one of the calls he's going to be talking about, is how to lead yourself first. That's going to help you lead others. Okay, this is kind of what Jacob was talking about. He said, this is what John was saying, you're not good the first time. You didn't walk the first time or talk the first time. You said a word that no one could understand. You didn't just have these long conversations. But I think with coaching, people sign up as a coach and they expect to have success right out of the gate. They don't understand that, like, you're never good the first time, no matter what it is. The only reason you do something for the first time is to get it out of the way so that you can do it the second time and the third time. You don't do it because you think you're going to be great at it, even if you prepare for it forever. So you have to talk to people about your failures. You have to make yourself human. The odds are that when you talk to someone about inviting them to a group or a challenge pack or Shakeology, the majority of the time you're going to hear no. You have to let them understand that you did a lot of things wrong and you failed a lot. Success separates you from others. Your responsibility is to close that gap by showing them you're human. And you went through all the struggles and the doubts and the growing pains and all that bad stuff that they're going to be going through. You don't want fans. You want friends. Fans applaud you because how great you are. Friends think they can do it too. That's what we want. We don't want people that applaud us. We want people that think that they can do what we do, because they can. Because this is very simple stuff, what we're doing. You have to have failure speeches. Share failures twice as many times as your successes. I'm great at falling, but I'm great at bouncing back. The millionaires don't inspire. The struggle and the story of how he or she got there, that's what inspires. That's what gives hope. That's what gets people to follow you. The reason, this is what I was saying, the reason I'm on these calls is because I need the call. I'm not asking you to be on the call because I think that you need it. We need this together. So when you guys are talking to your coaches, don't make it more about, and I talk about this all the time when I'm running challenge groups. I'm not out there saying like, hey, you should do this challenge group. You need this, or why don't you do this? Here's my link to my website. It's like, no, it's like, I'm doing this. Let's do this together. I need help staying accountable. Do you want to help me stay accountable to this? And I can help you stay accountable. Let's do this together. So when you're talking to your coaches about the calls, it's the same thing. He goes on to say, this business rises and falls on leaders, as we would say, gold ships. You don't have to create leaders or gold ships on your own. Just bring them to the calls with you. I love that he said that. Why would I? And then what he said was, if someone's not willing to bet on themselves, and it's $400 for that year of calls, which is about $1 a day, which is basically like, it's $33 a month for the call. That's less than one challenge pack commission. He said, if you aren't willing to bet on yourself by investing and getting on these calls, why should I bet on you? And then the next thing he said is, all the negative things you said about yourself. So this is like for people that are doubting whether or not they're worth investing on themselves, or doubting whether or not that they're going to be successful in this business. All those negative things you said about yourself that you constantly are going through your head, all those negative thoughts are lies. The problem is when you have low self-esteem, we believe those lies and they start to become truth to us. And then he asked, do you have a desire to grow? Do you think you can grow? Because that's all it takes. That learning spirit will take you a long way. Put those lies behind you. You are a person of growth. So then I was funny. I was sitting next to Lindsay Katerina, and I wrote down, I reached over and started writing on her pad, and I wrote, John's default answer is develop leaders. Because really, like, any problem a lot of these coaches had, he said, like, if it was time management or this or that, he was like, you need to develop leaders. You need to develop gold ships, which is something my mom's been saying forever. So John's default answer is develop leaders. They carry the load. If you had 5 leaders that knew how to lead others, would your business be okay? It would be more than okay. Nothing will work if they don't get on the phone. If you can't get them on the phone, I can't help you. I know I have not even come close to my potential, and I know these calls are going to be the best tool to help me get a lot closer. It's $1 a day for the year of calls with the #1 leadership expert in the world. This business, this Beachbody business, it's about gold ships. It's about leaders. These calls will help you develop into a leader and a gold ship, and it will help you develop others into leaders and gold ships. Growth is the only guarantee that tomorrow will get better. I guarantee you, I know how to train leaders. I guarantee it, but I can't train people that don't get on the call. We're going to do one free call so they know what the call is going to be about. After the call, you got to say, are you in or are you out? So this one free call he's doing it's less about like an actual training. It's more about showing you the value of the call, because I think I didn't set a great expectation for you guys on that January 1st call. I think a lot of you guys thought that it was going to be like an actual training, and he did talk about some concepts, but it was more just trying to show you guys the value of that call. And that's kind of what this call is going to be about on March 19th at 9 p.m. Okay. So the next thing he said was sowing seeds that benefit others. Success has to be about adding value to others, making a difference in other people's lives. Success is about you. Significance is about others. Most people wonder if they are going to have a good day Very few start their day hoping to add value to others. You are either a plus or a minus. A plus wants to add to others, a minus wants to take from others. Once you begin to pour your life into others, once you start adding value to others, you will never be satisfied with success. You want significance. Successful people became successful isn't because they had it easier. They had an attitude that when they got knocked down, they got back up. And one of the guys he works with said, I'm never down. I'm either up or I'm getting up. You can only be successful to a great degree if you learn to develop people. Your time isn't going to get it done. So you can't be, that's just like a regular job, trading time for money. You get it done by equipping others in this business. That's how you create financial freedom. That's how when you're sick or when you're on vacation or your family member's sick and you can't work, you still get paid because you've developed leaders. We're not about trying to trade time for money anymore. That's a normal job. All of the great compounding success in your life is to take people and get them to do what you can do. It is always slower to equip and train people than it is to do it yourself. But until you train others, you can never compound all of your success. And I think Jakin touched on that a little bit, where leaders, I think a lot of people, they want to run as fast as they can and be the first one to cross the finish line. But in this type of business, if you want to create that compounding effect that where you're developing leaders and creating that type of freedom, you need to slow down and cross the finish line with other people. And that's something that we're not always used to. We're always used to trying to be the best. But this is, when you're a leader, it's a little different. The greatest gap in the world is between knowing and doing. I love this part. Knowing and doing. Everyone knows what it takes to be successful, especially in this business. We all know what it takes to be successful in this business. We all know it's a long-term thing of being consistent with those simple daily vital behaviors, right? We all know that, but not everybody acts. The problem is they don't act on what they know. Coaches don't lack knowledge. They lack application. Just do it. Okay, then he talks about two things, vision and culture. 99% of teams are better at vision than culture. So you can get vision on a call or an event. That why, that's the vision. But culture is the journey. Culture eats vision for lunch. You can cast vision in a speech, but culture takes time to create. Vision is your dream, your why. Culture is the journey to your why. The dream is free, but the journey isn't. We always sell the dream, but we don't talk about the journey. People get excited about the dream. It's not about that idea that you get in the shower. It's about what you do with that idea once you get out of the shower and dry off. The journey is the culture. They now have a culture that backs up the dream. So that's really what John wants to do this year, is create a culture within our team of growth, a culture on our team that develops leaders. We can cast the vision of financial freedom or whatever your why is until we're blue in the face. But if we don't have a culture that's going to actually help you get there, then it doesn't really matter what that vision or that why is. And the last thing he said was, the last thing I'll share with you guys is leadership isn't easy. You have to have the right motive to be a leader. There's only one reason to be a leader: to help people. He said, I'm going to write a book called Leadership Sucks. He said, who said leadership was easy? You're not in it because it's easy. You're in it because it's rewarding. Leadership is getting people to do what they don't want to do, but when they do it, they're so glad that they did. So that's all I got. Okay, thoughts? Any questions from that? Anything to add on?
That was great, Pat. Can you give us the details on the John Maxwell calls? Is it going to be billed monthly or a one-shot deal or what?
Yeah, it's an upfront thing. They don't want to get into the payment plans, because if a coach quits or does something, then they're they want people to invest in themselves upfront.
And we'll find out everything on that 19th call.
Yeah, they haven't like talked about the times or anything like that. I mean, like I said, like I don't want people to think like, oh man, if I don't get on these calls, like I'm gonna be left behind and like I'm not gonna be successful with this business. Like, yeah, I think you're gonna miss out on a lot of amazing things that are gonna help you move your business forward. But if you don't do the calls, you're still gonna. It's not like you're gonna be totally out of it. You're still gonna be successful with this business. It's just these calls are for people that want to take it to that next level. You know what I mean? That wanna like accelerate their success. They want to accelerate developing into leaders. They want to accelerate developing other leaders. So don't feel like it's like a requirement that you got to do this. Like, yes, I'm excited to work with the people that are going to do these calls like very closely, but I'm still going to work with people that aren't going to do the calls. So like, I think that's like he's kind of cutthroat when it comes to that stuff. And I just don't want you guys to feel like, oh my God, like this is like make it or break it. I have to do the calls. I'm not going to do it. Like, trust me, if you do the calls, you're going to be a lot farther ahead with personally, with your growth and with your business. But if you don't do the calls, it's not like you can't be successful without them. Does that make sense?
Pat, you said you don't know when the calls will be monthly?
Not yet.
Okay. Would they most likely be during the week though? Or we don't know? Okay.
I would assume. They haven't said anything, but I would assume like they're going to be weeknights.
Okay.
9:00 Eastern, probably. So I'm not sure, but that's what I think they're probably going to shoot for something like that because, you know, like Tracy's on the West Coast, so 6:00 for her, East Coast, 9 p.m. I'm assuming that's going to be the time.
Okay.
I hope.
Pat, do you know if they're going to be recorded too for people that are registered to do it in case it's inconvenient?
Yeah, they're going to be recorded, but not the one on March 19th. Not the one on March 19th. And don't be giving out recorded calls to coaches that aren't paying for them, guys. I mean, you guys are investing in yourselves to do this. And if you give something to somebody for free, they're not going to get as much out of it. It's just kind of how it is. Kate talked about that. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add or any questions about any of that stuff?
Pat, sorry, I think I missed this. When did these start?
I'm not exactly sure when they start. I know like the first one's March 19th, but that's not even really the first one. That's like an extra like 13th call he's doing on March 19th. That's more about like kind of a sneak peek, but more just kind of talking about the value of the calls.
And everyone can get on that call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing that was cool that he said was very proudly, he was like, if I was in this business, I would crush it. So he's basically on all these calls. He's going to be training us how to be leaders and crush this business. Obviously, he knows how to be a leader and lead people, and that's the biggest thing in this business. And one other last thing that he said that I really liked was if you see yourself as a 5, you will only invest in yourself as a 5. If you see yourself as an 8, you'll invest in yourself as an 8. Motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing. So basically get on the calls.
Yeah, that's great. If you guys think that the national calls are beneficial for your coaches to get on, if you guys think that these team calls are beneficial for your coaches to get on because they're listening to some of the Team Boom leaders or they're listening to some of the Beachbody leaders in Team Beachbody, John Maxwell, when it comes to leadership, blows everyone else out of the water. So if you think those calls are beneficial, these are going to be to a whole other level. Like he said, he would crush this business. Absolutely. And what was that? I think someone just said something. Anyone else have anything they wanted to add? Or did anyone have any like questions? Like, it doesn't have to be about John Maxwell. Whatever you guys are wanting to talk about, any questions or thoughts or anything to add? What'd you think about that, Beth Reelman? Oh, she's got off. Cool. All right. Nobody has anything to add? All right, guys. Sorry, go ahead. Someone just say something? It just froze. Nada mucho. All right, so hopefully you guys can all make that happen March 19th at 9 p.m. to kind of check it out. There's not going to be a recording for that one, so you're either on it or you won't be able to get the info, unfortunately. And then next week on Wednesday's call, I think there's like 10 of us going to Shalene Johnson's like Smart Success event this weekend in Orange County. So next Wednesday, we're going to be sharing like our takeaways from that. And that's going to be more like focused on being successful, but being smart, like not being a workaholic, how to manage your time a little bit better, so that you're having other things in your life that you're having success with other than just Beachbody, I think. And then the week after that, which I believe is the 25th, is that right? Yeah, 25th, we got the Shakeology creator, Darren O'Lean is going to be on our call 2 weeks from today. So if you guys have like questions that you want to ask about Shakeology, or maybe you want to post in your challenge group or your free groups to your customers and ask them if they have any questions about Shakeology that you can bring to the call, it'll be kind of nice to be able to bounce some questions off of the creator of Shakeology. So that's in 2 weeks. Cool. All right, guys.
Hey, Pat,
Yeah.
how do you feel about maybe opening that up to customers to hear about it?
Let me ask Darren what he thinks, and then I'll usually gets back really quick, so I'll ask him, and then we can talk about it more on the team call up next week.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys soon. We'll do a little boom on 3, and then we're out of here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Boom.
Boom.
All right. See you guys.